Hey everyone, welcome to Pickleball and Beyond. My name's Ryan.
My name is Vino.
And today we're looking at some paddles from Mark. We have the Mark 1, Mark 1X, and the Mark 2. So let's hear your initial thoughts on this group of paddles here.
So I want to say, this is the Mark Kinetic.
Yep,
that
came out first.
Yes, it came out first, and then it became this Mark 1 and Mark 2 series. So the Mark 1 is supposed to be the newer version of this. All of these are the Kevlar carbon fiber mix. So very interesting variation. So let's just start a little bit on the variation.
Yeah, all of these come at a long handle to start with.
Yes,
interesting.
yes. So that's your regular elongated shape.
Your Mark 2 is.
Yeah, that's your Mark 2, right? These two have same shape. There's some differences that we kind of noticed. Number one is, yes, this is advertised as a longer handle, the Mark 1X. And another thing that we noticed was this does not have a tapering. This tapers early. It gets to about 19.1 centimeters all the way to about 19.7, 19.8 centimeters. So
it's a little larger.
Yes, it kind of tapers up and it's really rounded. And when you kind of look at both of this looks like it's lost like paddle all around. And let's go around and kind of categorize this. How are we going to categorize each of these paddles? Let's start with Mark II because that's like the most standout-ish on that side.
Yep. So for the Mark II, it's really tough. I think I would just put it into the power category.
Okay, yes.
Barely.
Yeah.
Just squeezes in, where these two are both going to stay in the all-around.
Perfect.
There's enough of a difference where I think this just squeezes into the power.
Yeah. So throughout this, we'll kind of talk about how they all function. And then also it's where they each stand out on their own. So let's start with the Mark X, 1X, right? Oh no, so sorry, this is the Mark 1, so this is the X. How is this on the control?
So on the control, it does a pretty good job. I've noticed we've used a lot of these Kevlar carbon mixes. And it's one of those things where it comes out, it's definitely a unique new feel, this mixed surface. We noticed it with like our Hoot F Viva Pro Gen 3. Like, you have to get used to this surface where the control, it's there, it's certainly there, but it's like, it almost like dampens it just a hair, but it has that activated power feature. But it's staying on topic with the control. It does a pretty good job, that shape, and it's just having the 1X, I think it's really good to compare these two side by side. Very, very similar.
Very similar.
So they were very comparable, but we found the Mark 1 had just a hair more control than the 1X, probably because of that tapering effect, I think. You used to have a little larger surface area with the Mark 1.
And it's really funny that you should say that, because the twist weight on the Mark 1 is 6.6 and the twist weight on the Mark 1X is 6.3. So you're getting a little bit more forgiveness. And I think we felt that, and also
that was the biggest difference in the control, was that sweet spot on the 1X. There was a couple when I deviated from the center where I was like, ah, shucks, it didn't help me out.
And I felt this had a little bit more dwell as well. It stayed onto that surface a little bit more, and that might be just a size difference as well. Because as far as the weight goes, this was a 8.1 versus a 7.9. And so that, again, very minute difference between these two. Very similar, and while we're at it, the twist weight on this was about 118 versus 114. And I don't know, and like we were very, had mixed feelings about this. I just felt this was just a smidge more maneuverable for me. What are your thoughts?
The 1X?
Yes.
Yeah, they were very comparable.
Yes.
It was hard to find a clear winner between one or the other in
but
that category.
Again, on that control side, really nice control paddles with just this taking it just marginally off.
And then comparing it to the Mark II, you have that same exact
surface,
the same surface on it. Definitely a smaller sweet spot with that elongated shape, which we've come to expect at this point. But it still did a pretty decent job. It's not like it fell off the earth, but the resets are definitely a little more difficult because the sweet spot gets
compared to this.
Comparing it to the Mark 1 and the 1X.
It played like an elongated.
Exactly. There was no surprise there.
And I would say, like, even when we got the Kinetic, the original, right? All of us were very impressed on how it controlled. It played really well as a really good all-around paddle, good control, good power, and it kind of carried on that series. And that just played as elongated paddle.
Yep, and we talked about the maneuverability piece as well, and this definitely took a hit there compared to the 1 and 1X, which is again what exactly we
and that was a twist weight of 122, and we'll at one point put all of those three together so you can see, and the twist weight on that was 6.5. So let's go to, we touched on resets as well. Let's go to power where kind of that plays a little bit more, and then let's talk of pop and resets as well.
Yeah, well, starting right with the Mark II, which again, I categorized it as a power paddle because I think it lost too much control compared to like how powerful it hit. Again, it gets beat by your like Selkirk Power Air, typical paddles like that.
The Reok and all of those, right?
Yep. But then starting with the pop, what's funny is the pop I thought was pretty middle of the road on this, but when you activated it, right, it was that elongated, had that hammer effect. There was quite a bit of power on this. I mean, we've said it a couple times, it's what you expected from an elongated paddle. Quite a lot of, like if you did a full swing, but in terms of the pop where there can be more variation, it was pretty middle of the road.
And I'm going to add to that I actually like a paddle that has power, but can come down a little bit on the pop, because you don't want it just popping off, right? Like you have your Reox and your Power and stuff like that, where great power, but it just pops out as well. So if someone hammers at you, it's just flying out. Where this, you're able to, control.
This will do a good job handling it better. Then the trade-off is, if you like to hit a lot of speed ups, for example, that's where you'd want more of that pop. But for defending yourself against bangers, this will help you certainly.
So let's go to these two. And as far as power goes, I don't know, I'm going to let you comment on it. It played so similar. I didn't know if we had any way to like draw a line.
I remember I threw my arm out trying to figure out which one hit harder. It was so close, I couldn't pick a winner at the end of the day.
So we're going to both talk.
And same with the pop as well. Very, very
similar. So how would you feel the pop and the power on these two were?
It kind of reminded me of the J2 in a way, which I liked. It's that middle of the road sweet spot, and that's why these are both all around paddles, where it offered a good amount of power, and the pop, again, just like I said about the Mark II, it's nothing that's like shocking, but it's also not like the ball doesn't come off. It's that nice middle of the road spot that all of these paddles had for that pop. The only difference was when you're doing a full swing, you're certainly getting more power with the Mark II.
And what did surprise me was on how it swung. I liked how, like, even when you were doing the smashes with this, you were able to generate decent power. Not as great as this, right? And again, that's the shape. You got good power. Like when you hit that center, it did fly off. So you could generate that power with these two. Spin.
So the spin across all of these was relatively similar again, especially the Mark I and 1X. It's just it's so hard to tell. They did a pretty good job. I was hoping for maybe a smidget more considering they're 16 millimeter paddles. But again, it still cut pretty well.
Yes, I would say like definitely on a higher tier of spin. I mean, this did really well as well. Good spin. For me, just again, I think it's just the shape. I got a little bit more spin on this than that because you could swing through it, you can cut through it, you can slice through it. Mind you, these two have pretty good dwell. It's not the highest amount of dwell, so even your slow backhand, slice, rolls and stuff like that, it's going to grab the ball. So very impressed with the Mark. Like, you know, when we had got this is the time the Ruby came out. And lots were comparing this, the Ruby, the J2K, and this was one that we really liked.
It was right in the battle.
It was right there, yes. And like when these came, like we were just equally surprised. It placed right there. It's really awesome paddles. Definitely something that you should try. You want something longer? It's got a little bit that extra length in that grip handle. That, you know.
All of these allow for two-handed backhand. So usually it's just elongated paddles or maybe a couple others, but it's cool to see both the 1 and 1X. I mean, it's also a very long handle. You can comfortably do a two-handed backhand.
So we definitely enjoyed these reviewing these paddles. If you want to try it in the Rochester, southern Minnesota area, please reach out to us. We love helping people find paddles. Please subscribe. Thank you for all the support. We love growing this channel, doing giveaways, comment, and press that like button. Hope to see you in another paddle review.